Good morning.
Somebody told me that this music feels a little Mr. Rogers-y, and I kind of agree. It's lovely. I love it. You know, it's a piece from Quinn. Not my favorite piece of Quinn's, but it's appropriately named Love Song, so it seems to work pretty well for this. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm pretty well too, thank you. It's very rainy here.
Yes, it is.
Which is good. It's been dry and we need the rain, so it's all right. So it's Friday, and this is our 25th daily dose of Dr. Mary and Dee Dee.
Is it really?
Yes, I know. We're a quarter of our way to 100. We've sort of made a 3-month commitment to this to see what we think of it, and then at the end of that, we'll visit and see if it makes sense to keep going. But so far, so good, I think.
Mm-hmm.
So thanks to those of you who tune in on a pretty regular basis. We appreciate it. All right, today is the 4th promise.
Yes, it is.
The 4th promise is, we will comprehend the word serenity and we will know peace. We will comprehend the word serenity and we will know peace. That's pretty nice.
Again, it's good advice for everyone. The Serenity Prayer.
Oh, we should have brought your copy out. I bought the
here.
first two lines of it from Ann Casey in calligraphy. Yeah, nobody can read that.
You can read
God grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to accept the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference.
Has actually been adapted as the prayer of the alcoholic, and it is absolutely true. When I became sober and was clear-headed, I really could think more peacefully. There was no more yelling going on in my head. I know that sounds dramatic, or maybe even some of you might even seem it might sound silly, but there was always this screaming match in my head of, what are you doing? You don't need to do this. Yes, I do. I don't know how to cope with everything any other way. And, you know, but when I was sober for the first time in a long time, that screaming match has stopped. So the serenity is actually, you know, some people say finding your inner peace. It sounds hokey, but it's true. And you do find yourself at peace. I came to my first moment of peace, I think, when I got my 1 month sobriety chip. I gave I just said thanks, didn't say a lot, didn't really say much, like I said, for the first year, but when I sat back down, I felt peaceful. You know, loads of people just clapping you and slapping you on your back and holding and shaking your hand just because you got an aluminium coin that had 1 month written on it. And it dawned on me that at that moment, that thing meant the world to me, because I had found peace.
So I read something interesting yesterday. A mutual friend of ours is celebrating 2 years of sobriety. Congratulations, Lana. That's a big deal. And she very specifically does not refer to herself as an alcoholic, because there's a whole movement, and obviously this would be true, but there's multiple kinds of movements to choosing sobriety or becoming sober. But she is part of a movement that really views this all as, when you label yourself that, it just makes you feel bad. So she chose to get sober. She worked through it on her own. She didn't go to AA. She didn't do any of that. And I'm just curious for you, because you are such an ascriber to AA, how much of that has weighed in on your ability to, how much of it weighed in on your ability to get sober and stay sober? I mean, you know, you talked, I don't know, one day last week, I think, about the 28 days, that it takes about 2 weeks for everything to leave your system and about 4 weeks for you to feel like you might be able to do this. Is that correct?
Yeah.
So you were only 2 weeks sober when you went to your first AA meeting. So how much of AA has factored into this serenity, this peace for you?
This isn't. I mean, it's a program. It doesn't work for everyone, unfortunately, and clearly there are instances where you find another path. It doesn't matter as long as you can stay sober and be happy. I mean, for me, AA it's a support group. One of your brothers actually said once that he can't believe there isn't a human being on the planet who doesn't need therapy, and
Yes.
I think he might be right.
Yes.
Because that's my therapy. I mean, I'm getting it costs well, I throw in a little bit extra just for the sheer thankfulness of being sober, but literally, it costs you $1. You go to the AA meeting and you can listen to people, and it if you do listen, it does make you feel better. You're not alone. You're not judged. But how much does that factor in? I think it was mostly for me, I wasn't alone. I felt alone for years when I was drinking, especially when when it all started to gear up and I reached my bottom. I felt lonely.
You acted lonely,
Yeah.
too, interestingly.
I did, because I felt really, really lonely, and now I don't. And, you might be sitting there watching this or watching a recording of it later going, yeah, well, dummy, you're sober. There's more to it than that. I
think you think people are being super judgy of you.
Yeah.
I don't think anybody's being judgy of how you felt. I mean, you've lived your whole life thinking people are judging you.
I know.
I mean, it's an interesting.
I blame Margaret Thatcher.
No, we're having a real conversation. It's an interesting place because I think we all feel judged. It's why women walk into rooms and try to hide their problem spots, or they wear baggy clothes, or we all sabotage ourselves and try to mask the things that we're uncomfortable with. But it's interesting to me that even in these years, you often qualify what you're about to say with, you might think this is silly or crazy or ridiculous, or I don't think anybody thinks that. I think you worry that people think that.
I probably do.
And I hope that some of what this can do for you and for anybody listening is to realize if you're listening to this, watching this, and you're not thinking those things about Maz, then try to remember that it's likely people aren't thinking it about you.
No,
either.
That's true. Good call.
The most important thing to remember is nobody's thinking about you as much as you're thinking about you. I'm thinking about me. You're thinking about you. You're thinking about you. We're not thinking about other people. We're not judging other people. We are thinking about ourselves. We're judging ourselves. So you might think it's silly, but I don't think anybody else thinks it's silly. And so then you should be comfortable with it, and it's okay. If it is silly, it's still okay.
Okay.
There's serenity to that.
There is, I guess. But my point was the AA thing. It does give you an inner peace. It does give you a serenity. Well, it gives me a serenity. I mostly look forward to going. Sometimes I dread, I've got to go to the meeting. But when I'm there, I think, I'm so glad I'm here. And it's absolutely true. It's like when I used to go and curl. I hated the fact that I had to drop everything and be at the curling rink. Yes, curling. But when I got there, I always had a good time. I haven't gone back to curling because not the group I curled with.
Many of whom have moved. But curling, when I used to do it here, was apparently an excuse to get as drunk as you could. So when I got sober and someone suggested, why didn't you find an activity you used to like? I thought, I'm not going to go curling with people who are curling drunk. That's fair.
And that was just me. I mean, it's not, you can't be around drunk people. I can, since I've been sober. And it's fun. I don't judge them. We're going, you're going to feel terrible in the morning. I'm there having, just enjoying myself with great company. And I can do that sober. When I was about 18, I thought, that will never happen. it's
You
fantastic.
thought, well, that you would be sober?
It's fantastic.
Yeah.
And the AA part of it for me is, it's very therapeutic. It's very calming for me, just to be around people that don't judge you.
Yeah. Well, I think my takeaway from this is I think most of the world isn't judging. I mean, we all have judgy moments. I'm super judgy. If you met my mother and you met her family, and I come from a long line of pretty judgy people, despite how fabulous we are. Mother, you're fabulous.
Yes.
But you're very judgy, as am I. And even I don't listen to any of these stories. I've never met someone, now that I have spent some time with people who are on their journey of addiction or sobriety, or however they want to think about it. I don't judge them. I really don't. It's such an incredible privilege to experience these stories, to hear them, to have someone share that with you. I think mostly we are not being judgy in the world, and that should give everybody some comfort.
Yeah.
Everybody should take some peace from remembering that mostly we're not being judged.
And that's why I wanted to talk about the promises. You're absolutely right. It does. It can be you can apply this to everyone, like you said.
And you know what? I'm just going to say this and then we're going to hop off. If you are judging somebody who's struggling with addiction, shame on you. Shame on you. Because they're doing the best they can. So put your judgment aside and figure out if there's a way to help them.
Struggling with...
Or if you know someone who's married to an addict and you're judging the person for staying, shame on you for that too, because everybody is doing the best they can do.
And doing the best you can is...
I guess I'm judging the judge.
No, doing the best you can is actually a form of integrity.
Yes.
So well done.
Yes, absolutely. So I think we're going to wrap up on that. I do want to remind you that these all get tied up into a newsletter with some additional content that goes out every Saturday. If you want them, you can sign up. I'll put the link into the comments of this live stream. And tomorrow morning you could get these 5 wrap-ups and some other stuff too. So thanks so much for watching this week. Monday's live stream is going to be very, very exciting and coming from multiple locations. So I'll leave that as a clip note.
This one off,
yeah, hopefully it'll happen. Have a super, super weekend. Look for a place where you can extend graciousness, not judgment, and look for a place where you can find some peace for yourself this weekend. That's my challenge
And if
to
you're
you.
starting your road to sobriety, the very best of luck.
Absolutely. Have a great weekend.
Bye.
Bye.